Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Elevate Your Grind, brought to you by the Cannabis Lab. Again, we are still doing these via Zoom under quarantine, but as I'm telling my guests, there's a lot of major television network shows that are using this. Even the Howard Stern show has gone to Zoom. Howard, I saw that you weren't using a microphone before. Now you are. You definitely got that from me. So we have an awesome guest here today, someone who actually has a store right down the street from me. I live in Delray Beach. Their store is in Wellington, so very close to me, very convenient, happy to have him on. Please welcome Mike Smullen.
Great, thanks. Happy to be here.
Thanks for joining us. So, Mike, I guess we can kind of start. I want to get into your story a little bit, but I also, it's very topical now. This is going to probably come out later today or tomorrow, and I know you're going to be on our panel. Check out the panel tomorrow, 4 o'clock. We've basically an update on the industry, but give us a little preview. What is it like right now operating in this climate? Are you guys doing curbside? Is it more delivery? How is it having to adjust to a business where you've got to take the human interaction out of it almost?
Well, it's been tough, but we gave it a lot of thought before we opened our doors during this period of time. Fortunately, our medical director is an infectious disease physician, so we spent a lot of time talking to him. We had really 2 overall objectives. One of them, to make sure that our employees are working in a safe environment. But the second thing we wanted to do was ensure that our customers coming in would feel safe as well. And at the same time, we do have one of the businesses considered an essential business. We know we're providing an important service, so we want to do everything we can to keep our doors open. So I guess in terms of safety, particularly at the dispensary level, we've done a number of things. One of the first things we did was to install plexiglass barriers between our med tenders and the customers, as well as our receptionists. We will be installing very shortly LED lights that we'll keep on at night. We've also got some generators, ozone generators, that will be going into our dispensaries. We decided to really keep social distancing by eliminating 1/2 of our point of sales stations in the dispensaries, so that they were 6 feet apart. And that enabled us to really go to 2 teams rather than having 10 or 12 of our med tenders working at the same time. We were always concerned that if one contracted the virus, we would have to quarantine the whole team. So now we divided them into 2 teams. If one team does go down, we have the other team that can come in. We never allow more than 10 people into our store at a time. What we'll typically do is take cell phone numbers and ask people to remain in their cars until we text them to come in. We've decided to close on Sundays so that we can do extra thorough cleaning on that particular. Probably as much as anything, it's really counterintuitive to what we would normally do. We're not doing a lot of social broadcasting. We're not doing specials and things like that. Yeah. We're not going to really highlight grand openings. We want to do everything we can to make sure that people know we're open, but we don't want to attract large crowds to our dispensaries and have 25 or 30 people waiting outside, standing in line, talking to each other. So that's what we've done in the dispensary. There are a few other things we've done as well, but I think we've done a pretty good job in making people feel pretty good about walking into one of our dispensaries.
No, and it's incredible. And something that you had mentioned there is that you've been deemed essential. So in a few years, we've gone from illegal to essential. And I've heard a lot of people say that. How are the patients with these processes? I mean, are people getting frustrated with it? It seems like people are willing to do what they need to do to get what they need. I mean, sales seem to be up, if I'm correct.
Yes, I was really surprised in the first week, which I guess was probably 2 weeks ago. We had our largest sales week volume-wise to date. Now, that has fallen off a little bit, but we're still, sales are still quite brisk, even though we're not offering specials and things like that. But clearly, it's on the mind of our patients. I spend a little time trying to go into some of the dispensaries around here and just sort of listen to the interaction between customers and our patients and our med tenders. And bottom line is they are concerned, but they do feel pretty good with the things that we're doing, and I think they'll continue to come back.
Very cool. No, it's cool to see people, not give you guys crap for having to go through, I don't want to say hoops, but extra measures to get what they need. But obviously it's for the betterment of everybody. Do you see right now a shift in the products that are being sold during this time? From what I understand, more flowers being sold versus vapes or tinctures or the traditional more like therapeutic type products.
Well, Move we're primarily focused on the medicinal part of this, but yeah, just like in any other state, flower is very popular, so are concentrates. I can't say that I've seen a real shift in what people are buying. It seems to be very similar patterns. Okay. And that's actually been a little bit surprising too, because there has been some chatter out there about not vaping or smoking during this particular period of time, but it doesn't seem to have, it hasn't had a real impact on what customers are asking for, at least at our dispensaries.
Sure. So I want to take that opportunity to transition to your background. So I know, like you said, Move is focused on the medical side of things. So you have a very deep background in medical and pharmaceuticals, correct? That's where you initially started your career?
Yes, I started in the pharmaceutical industry when I got out of college many years ago. Always working on the commercial side, was fortunate enough to work for 3 startups. One of the last company that I worked for in the industry was one that I'm very proud of. It was a company that brought a product to market to help premature babies that are susceptible to a virus called respiratory syncytial virus. And this is a drug that protected them from the ravages of that particular disease. It has saved the lives of tens of thousands of premature infants around the world. And back in 2007, Astra Zeneca, a big pharmaceutical company, came in and decided to offer a lot of money to us to buy the product and to buy the company. And
wow.
I retired at that time.
And how old were you at that time?
Well, I was really lucky. I was 51 at the time that I retired, which was young. I didn't set out to retire. I would have been very happy to continue working at MedImmune. MedImmune was the name of the company. The problem that I had at that time was that after you work for such a wonderful company and you have the kind of success that we have, and you've had the impact on patients the way that we have, it's hard to find sort of the next mountain to climb. And I thought that I would, but I went 7 or 8 years of being retired and looking for the right opportunity, and found it in a place that I never thought I would find it, which was medical cannabis.
Wow. So I want to get back to what got you into cannabis, but over those 7 years, what's it like going from, a successful exit, not really ready to retire? What do you do to keep yourself busy? Are you doing some consulting here and there? Is it just spending time with the family and seeing the world, living the life? And then the idea just strikes, how does that 7-year period go?
Well, very different than what I thought it was going to be. Right at the time that I retired, I had just moved up to, we had another home in Vermont, which is where I grew up. And I wanted to spend more time with my family up there. And I was up there about 3 months when my younger brother was diagnosed with bladder cancer. Ooh. And so a big part of my first 2 years, and I'm grateful I had the opportunity, was spent with him on his journey. He unfortunately passed, but he was one of the reasons that I got into this business as well. He had a very difficult time on opioids following each surgery that he would have, and so I was thinking a lot about that, and wondering if there might be another opportunity in biotech to come out and work for a group that would develop something different than what we traditionally see in the way of pain medicine.
I can see wanting to get back into that. So you continue on, and then what brings you into cannabis? And going from, and just because you're in traditional pharmaceuticals, and this is almost, it's along the same vein, but it's a completely new area that has been relatively undiscovered.
Yes, the same time that this was going on, we were watching our youngest daughter, experience real difficulties with her epilepsy. She had her first grand mal seizure when she was 2.5, sitting in my lap watching a movie, which was a really tough time. But the next several years, going from pharmaceutical drug to pharmaceutical drugs with different modalities, was very difficult because they all had pretty severe side effects, particularly for her. She was just one of those kids that didn't respond all that well, although her seizures were controlled, pretty debilitating side effects. And, you asked me what got me into this.
Yeah.
It was really pretty serendipitous. I was one evening just flipping channels on the TV, and I was watching this little girl suffering a seizure in the documentary. It turns out to be Charlotte Figge, a little girl out in Colorado who had intractable epilepsy. And I watched what happened when they introduced a high CBD oil. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I probably watched that 7 or 8 times, then started doing my own research. And it took me to looking at a lot of things that were being done in countries like Israel and Spain, in terms of some of my research. And I walked away thinking, wow, this is real medicine. And there's an opportunity for somebody to build a serious medical cannabis company in the US. And that was really the inspiration, we jumped in, feet first, and there was a lot to learn, but in a relatively short period of time, we've built a company that I'm quite proud of.
No, and you have built an amazing company, especially down here in Florida, where you've got to get really big really fast, which isn't always easy. So how do you go from not being in the business to figuring out, okay, now we have to get licensed, now we have to, how does that strategy fall into place? Does that just come from your background? Because there's so many more components when you get into cannabis.
Sure.
At least when you're in pharmaceutical, you made the product and then you gave it out to the distributors and the pharmacies and everything else. Here, you have to take on those roles as well. I imagine your network had something to do with it. Would just really love to hear how that fell into place.
Sure. Well, I probably did take a little bit different path. While a lot of folks and competitors, are what I thought might be our competitors in Florida, were very much focused back in 2014 on getting a license here in Florida. I was spending time raising money for the venture and was pretty successful at that, and hiring some really strong scientists and a couple of strong physicians that I'd worked with in the industry, with the goal of developing devices to deliver medical cannabis that would offer more precise and consistent dosing. Things like transdermal patches and meter dose inhalers.
Mm-hmm.
It was really product development was the first order of business for us. So we were involved in all that, to grow product. And when the amendment failed in, the first time in 2014, we decided to go out and get a license in Arizona. We looked at a number of states, but we had an opportunity to get a growth facility out there and cut our teeth, continue our product development, and then bring those learnings back to Florida. So we built out a 30,000 square foot manufacturing, processing manufacturing facility out there. And things happened very quickly for us. We actually, I think, were the first growth facility in North America to get an ISO 9001 certification for highest standards. Right after our first harvest, we introduced a number of products, particularly on our concentrates, into what is the Arizona Cup. We just did it just for the experience, but we ended up winning several first place prizes out there, which was pretty interesting. So we did quite well in our first start out in Arizona. The more difficult part of this journey came when we decided we wanted to pursue a license in Florida. We had decided when we went out to Arizona not to apply for one of the Charlotte Web licenses that they were offering in Florida. And so when we came back here after the amendment had passed, we thought, here we are. We got this great company. We've already developed all these products, and it should be very easy sailing for us, particularly the application process. But we were told, because we didn't apply for a Charlotte web license back in 2014, we were essentially shut out.
Really?
And so I'm thinking, boy, maybe that bold decision we made to go out to Arizona maybe wasn't all that good. So it turned out to be the best thing that could have ever happened. We ended up partnering with a group that I had a lot of respect for, called Plants of Ruskin.
Okay.
And a CEO from Plants of Ruskin by the name of John Tipton. We had become good friends over the years, and we decided, wow, what an opportunity. He's got his experience in the agricultural side and building out a phenomenal grow. And we've got all the experience with, product development and products and so on and so forth. And so we put the two companies together and named the company AltMed Florida. And we got off, to a very, very fast start, as you know, here in Florida.
No, that's amazing. I love hearing how that all comes together and how you're able to open up in Florida because you live here, right? So
yes, it's what we wanted. Yes, for all those reasons. And we had, from the very beginning, even without a license, we wanted to at least let the community in Sarasota know, which is where we're headquartered, that we were more than a company that was just interested in making profits. We got involved early on with a number of charities. My wife heads up our philanthropic part of AltMed. So before we were making money or even licensed, we started working with a really wonderful local pediatric epilepsy foundation, an ALS foundation, pediatric brain cancer, where we've been very involved with them and helping them raise money. My wife sits on a couple of those boards now. And I think we developed a really strong reputation for what we're doing in the Sarasota area, and we were hoping that would carry us out into other parts of Florida.
No, it's amazing, and it's great to see how involved you guys are in the community. And I love hearing, I heard it from Bestivola and Brady Cobb. It's just some kind of pride bringing it to your home state and being able to not only do what you do, but do it in your backyard and do it in your own communities. And then you guys are going above and beyond. And I know the reputation that you have right here in Wellington is incredible. So, we've been going for a little bit here. Your story is incredible. I really like it. I love focusing on the medical side of things. I often talk about how I really feel that that's what's going to springboard our industry forward. I understand what's going on right now, and you guys are adjusting to that. But what's the future for AltMed in Florida? What do we have to look forward to when things get back to normal?
Sure. Well, we're continuing on to build out our dispensaries. We're at 19 now. We believe, even with what's going on here today, we'll probably have 30 or 32 open by the end of the year. At the same time that's going on, we have been really aggressively expanding our grow. We're going to have by October 1 about 210,000 square feet built out, producing about 60,000 pounds of flower a year. Really beautiful lab, manufacturing, processing area. And we continue to focus on product development. We're constantly challenging the folks that work in our lab to come out with new and more innovative ways to deliver medical cannabis in a more precise and consistent manner. So I think you'll see a number of new products introduced, certainly by the end of this year.
Very cool. Well, we certainly look forward to that. And I really appreciate your time today. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Great to be here and great to speak with you.